What is going on, guys? TKD123 big review, and today we're talking about this whole dilemma that's going on across all websites, basically. IJM, Polygon talking about it, a lot of things on NeoGAF as well, and it is the notion of loot boxes again back in the news. Now this, has been an issue that has been so prevalent the past few years, and like everyone already has been to it, down to a core, and a lot of people are talking about it, and I wanted to give a little bit of my 2 cents and actually bring up some articles that are very much, within the same vein of kind of the point I'm trying to bring across here. Now, my just, thesis and my stance on loot boxes as a whole, and really on microtransactions, on, anything of that sort, right? My thing is that I don't necessarily have a problem with them, right? I don't have an issue with there being a, just loot box thing in the game, and it's a choice, for those that would like to use them. I also subscribe with the whole, point that we should have those loot boxes be filled with things that do not affect the gameplay or not, give a user a certain edge, in a game. And these items, of course, in these loot boxes, should only be cosmetic only, right? Like they really have no place or reason to be items that affect the gameplay overall, because that obviously is extremely unfair, because you can have some guy that just has like money to blow, whatever, and he buys all these cards, whatever, and he gets all of this, equipment and items, stuff like that, that really do give him an edge in a multiplayer environment, and that's extremely unfair to those that, tend to just don't buy loot boxes. Like, I don't tend to buy loot boxes at all. I bought them once in like Black Ops 3, and I was like, nah, I'm good. Like I'm not doing this, for any other game, and I'm not doing this at all, probably ever. And what's been really kind of discussed this morning, is that a lot of people are discussing the ESRB's kind of stance on loot boxes, right, and what they came to an agreement with. And this article comes to us from Jason Schreier off of Kotaku. Shout out to Jason Schreier. But basically, he goes into depth here explaining that the ESRB, has kind of determined that loot boxes and etc., all that stuff, don't really constitute as gambling, right? And their whole point is that yes, there is an element of chance in there, and yes, there is an element of just randomness overall in the actual loot box thing. But at the end of the day, every time you utilize a loot box or utilize anything like that, you get something out of it always, right? You don't ever use one of these loot box systems and get nothing out of it, as opposed to actual gambling, like in a real life environment, either in Vegas or whatever. You might go and gamble something and you might not get anything back, and you might actually lose what you actually put into it back. And so here with loot boxes and everything, you don't necessarily ever leave empty-handed. You might leave with something you didn't want or an item that you weren't looking for, but overall you still get something at the end of the day, and that's the overall difference here and why it's not determined as gambling. And they have a point where they kind of compare the loot box system to a gumball machine on the street, right? So every time you use a gumball machine, you don't always get the exact flavor you want, but overall you get an exact gumball every single time. Like, you get something out of it. And the exact same thing can be said for loot boxes. Like, every time you use a loot box system, you're trying to get that skin, you're trying to get that gun, whatever, you're trying to get that armor piece, whatever you're trying to get. There are times, and really it's most times, where you don't exactly get what you want, but you always end up getting a skin, always end up getting a weapon, always end up getting an item of some sort. So overall, you do get something out of it. It's not that you leave empty-handed. And yeah, from that standpoint, honestly, like, I have to agree, like, it definitely does make sense why, loot boxes isn't considered gambling, because every single time you get something out of it, definitely does make sense. But does that stop it from being unethical? Does it stop from being, a little bit manipulative, a little bit wrongdoing, all that stuff? That doesn't stop it from being those at all either. And there was a study that was found that, games that act as a living and breathing game, right? Those games tend to make a lot more than those one-hit off games. So what I mean by that is, let's take, for example, good old Mass Effect Andromeda. Obviously, the reason why, this game did not get any post-game content was because of the game's just overall stigma and how it all came out. But, beside the point, we're going to use it for argument's sake. Let's say, just Mass Effect Andromeda just came out and its intention was to not have DLC, right? There wasn't going to be any more post-content, game, everything like that. It was just going to be the game, and that's it, right? Let's just say that was his intention from the jump, right? We have a game like that where it's just a game, launches at, you know, whatever price it is, mainly $59.99, right? And that game is just how it is when you buy it, right? As opposed to, let's say, Overwatch, right? Overwatch was $40, I believe, when I bought it. I believe right now you can get it around like $30, whatever. And that game, you get all of these maps coming in, you get all this new content, you get, you know, things that match the season. Like yesterday, I just uploaded a video of me debuting and doing a walkthrough of the new Overwatch content for the season. Like that's just, you know, like that's just what they do. And what this study is saying is that, you know, games that kind of have a living and just continual content flow make a lot more money over the long haul of the game, as opposed to a game that launches at a higher price with no DLC, right? So you have a game, if you launch it at a lower price but continue to support it through content and everything, as opposed to just having a really big game, you know, and really fleshed out game at a higher price initially and have no content for it moving forward, obviously the one that is priced a little bit less but has more content, DLC and everything, will get, you know, more revenue over time. And the ways they make revenue, you know, it is not just off of map packs and DLC packs, it is off of the loot box system that you're seeing in every single game. Overwatch has a loot box system, and you know, it is a great thing overall. It's making a lot for them and everything. And honestly, I love Overwatch's kind of, you know, their system, because it doesn't have anything that affects the gameplay. It is only cosmetic only, it's only skins, it's only those sprays so you can spray on the wall. That's all it is. It's like just cosmetic only, right? And I feel, you know, that is obviously the best way to go about things, and that's really the best way that they kind of do their Overwatch boxes. Because look, I'll be real, I haven't bought a loot box from Overwatch at all since I've had it. So definitely, you know, there is that. But really, another huge argument and piece of this whole thing is that, like, look, making games in 2017 is extremely expensive, right? Like, we have a bunch of, you know, massive game developers and massive licenses with them. Like, we have EA making, you know, Star Wars content, and like the licenses that have those, you know, those like with the Star Wars name, it is not cheap at all, right? And obviously, it goes unsaid here that, yo, listen, like, you know, these developers and these publishers, obviously, they need to feed and to pay the people that work on these games, right? Like, it is not a, you know, like just like low-key thing to make a game. Like, it is a huge endeavor. It's a huge thing in the industry. Like, it is a big tax to take on overall. So maybe, you know, looking at, you know, just on the other side of things, like, look, man, like these loot boxes are making a lot for these companies. We have GTA Online making around like $500 million, I think, off the top of my head, if I remember it. Activision has made over $3 billion on all of their games in the past year off of, you know, DLC content, and that's not including all of loot boxes, but it's some of it, you know, to a degree. And it's just, you know, all of these companies are making huge amounts of money on these loot boxes, and, you know, they will not go away. Obviously, they're not going to go away. It's a model that's working, and they're going to stick to it. But I do feel, you know, with them being here and being a part of, you know, the overall system of games, okay, if they are going to stay, and they will stay, right? Let's just be real, right? I feel that they definitely have to skew more towards a cosmetic only environment. I feel like there is no place to have a loot box system that has these, you know, items that somehow advance a player's gameplay and make them stronger in the multiplayer game arena, because that is definitely obviously unfair, because then that comes into terms of pay to win, and that is absolutely not a good thing for the industry overall. But I feel that, like, loot boxes do have a place in this, you know, whole game industry, and you know, they obviously serve a purpose. However, they must only, you know, I feel, in my opinion, be cosmetic only. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you guys think that these loot boxes should, you know, have these, you know, weird things that are pay to win low key, or should they all be cosmetic only, or do you just hate them all and wish they would go away? Let me know in the comments below. And make sure while you're done checking my chicken you can find my Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, all the good stuff where you can follow me on there. Thanks for watching, and as always, I got you.